Are you looking to join Cycling Men of Leisure for one of our rides in 2025? We've got a few things on our schedule.
That's right. We'll be attending Big Brag and also the Bourbon Country Burn.
Big Brag is in Georgia and Bourbon Country Burns in Kentucky. Both places are going to be absolutely beautiful. We're going to have teams for both of those events. If you're looking to join us on our team, just send us a message. We'll tell you what to do.
So come on out. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time for Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure, the podcast for cyclists who understand that riding is not just about getting to the destination, but the experience along the way. Now, here are the original Cycling Men of Leisure, Adam and Michael.
Welcome to Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. I am Adam, and as always, my good friend, my co-host, my Central Time friend, Michael Sharp.
Hello, Adam. How we doing?
Doing good. Believe it or not, I'm excited to start the show.
Okay. What do you got to tell us?
Well, listen, I'm not a Georgia warm weather kind of person, but we had a 60-degree day on Monday.
Nice.
Got out for 34 miles.
Of riding?
Of bicycle riding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you bought a convertible. Yeah, I did 36 miles in the convertible.
I drove the old Civic 34 miles.
Yeah. Rolled all the windows down on the van.
No,
well,
actually,
awesome. That's fantastic. Good job.
I met our good friend Joe, and multiple times he would get to the top of the hill and look and be like, this guy. And I'd be like, I'm coming. I'll be there. So I had a good time doing that. And besides that, not a lot. Just same old, same old. What about you?
Not too much. Had a bad cold this weekend, so I didn't really get a lot done. Kind of disappointing. So,
but especially with your project going on.
Yeah, the ongoing project. I need to get on my bike, and well, it'll all work out.
Well, lucky for you, you got the Peloton at hashtag Cycling Men of Leisure.
That's true. I do. And I had been putting a few turns on here and there. But
then you got
this last week kind of stalled me out a little bit, but we'll get back on it. It'll all be fine.
I have no doubt, my friend. I have no doubt. The last time we got together, we unloaded a lot of stuff. We had rancid stuff and a couple listener spotlights, but particularly, we ended the show with a listener spotlight clues, which ironically, a gentleman wrote me from Mississippi after you gave away the answer last time. He said, "Hey, I'm 15 miles from there."
Starkville.
He said that he enjoys our show. And he said, listen, you guys have never been to Mississippi. He's like, you ought to come down here. There's lots of good riding. And then he had a little fun at my expense. And I love it, by the way. He said, unless that'd be too hot for you northern boy. So, and I laughed and I appreciated him taking his time to write us. So
absolutely.
So in the end of the last show, you gave some clues. Could we have the clues again?
Yes. Okay, here's the clues. It is a town that is heavily associated with beer.
Oh, yeah, I guess St. Louis.
You guess St. Louis. But remember, folks, he always guesses St. Louis.
Well, yeah, because
just saying. Yeah. It is home to over 750 drinking establishments.
Again, St. Louis.
So far, so good. Let's see how well you do now. It did have a couple of witch burnings back in the ye old days.
I feel like you're saying the old days on purpose. I feel like the way you're saying that, you're alluding to something that is not St. Louis or somewhere else.
Well,
but go ahead, like Salem, Salem.
Well, I am saying ye old days, which you may be onto something there. Definitely no witch burnings in St. Louis that I am aware of.
Okay.
It has an association with a famous lion that almost everyone has seen.
And I said maybe wrongly, but when last time we got together, I said, "Oh, the MGM," because the way you said "scene," I had assumed that every time you start a movie and the line goes, "Blah."
Okay. Not St. Louis. Its name can be translated into something concerning water in some language. And it houses a park that is one of the largest in the region.
What kind of park?
Like a city park.
Oh,
Like a park.
like Millennium Park, like Chicago.
Like a park.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Well,
a
I'm trying to
park.
get
I mean,
here. I'm trying to get here.
they got walking and running and, kids throwing frisbees and whatnot, things like that.
Hmm. Well, I have guessed the central part of America, where St. Louis, Chicago, but now you got me thinking like Salem with the witch burnings. What
Okay.
area?
I let me give you another. I actually gave you another hint.
You did?
Those are the hints that I gave you, but I actually made a comment after the second hint. That was not just a comment.
Uh-oh.
It was actually another hint. And you don't remember it, but I'll tell you. I said it is home to over 750 drinking establishments. Then I said, I wonder what the Guinness Book of World Records has for the most drinking establishments of a town.
Oh man,
I wonder if it's close.
I should have researched it.
But there's a hint there.
What am I missing? I mean, I could have went to the Guinness Book of World Records.
You could have went to the Guinness Book of World Records. That wouldn't have done you any good. But take the one that I said, the clue that I gave you before. It is a town that's heavily associated with beer, a beer. And then I talked after that about Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh, Guinness. Oh.
Now, one thing you're failing to think about, in our listeners out there, they're not all in the United States.
That's true.
The town that I picked this time that we have listeners from is Dublin, Ireland.
Well, thank you, listeners from Dublin, Ireland.
Absolutely. I will give you credit. You were right on the lion. The MGM lion actually came from Dublin.
Okay.
Lion itself, the original one. So, yeah. So there you go.
I'm trying to find something while you're talking. But,
okay. So, yeah. So they had some witch burnings are associated with the MGM lion. Their name translates into dark water. And Dublin has one of the largest city parks in the region. So
a little fun fact. So thank you all listeners, but this time, unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstances, I can't play with all my voice toys, but I'll do the best I can. Listener spotlight. Thank you. But a little fun fact for Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure. 40 countries and territories we've been listed in, and 1,369 as of the 27th of March, total cities we've been listening to.
There's a lot of them out there. A lot of them out there. And
like 1,369.
Yeah, like that number exactly. So,
and just for fun, only because I'm looking at it, today alone, new locations today: Knightdale, North Carolina; York, Pennsylvania; Rogers, Arkansas; and Minnetonka, Wisconsin. Minnetonka, Wisconsin. How do you pronounce that?
I don't know. I'm not looking at it.
Oh gosh, now I'm going to insult someone who lives in Minnetonka. I'll have to look.
Yeah, whoever the listener is from that town can send him an email and give him a lesson on how to pronounce your
cyclingmanofleisure@gmail.com.
That's right. So I thought with me bringing in the Guinness Book of World Record thing, that might give something away, but that's okay.
But you know what?
We'll do another one.
I bet you our listeners are a lot smarter than I am, and so maybe someone out there picked up on that. And so if they did, kudos to you, sir or ma'am.
Yes. So, all right. What do we got next?
Next, we got a little something I'm kind of excited about. So, this is kind of a full circle story. We have a gentleman coming on that was passed along to us by our good friend and ride director, Franklin Johnson. He is the executive director for brag, brag.org. Check it out. He reached out to us and said, "Hey guys, I've got someone that I think should be on your show." And it's kind of a full circle story. And so the full circle story is that this gentleman listened to us, heard us talking about brag, which led him to the website, which led him to book a ride with brag, to ride brag, to then talk to Franklin to tell us that we thought we'd be having good on the show. Turns out this gentleman is also works at a bicycle thrift shop. And I thought, I know, and I thought this gentleman is right up our alley.
So you're telling me through your whole like spaghetti story there,
yes,
that someone actually listened to us and took our advice.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if I would do that on a regular basis.
Well, probably not a healthy habit to start, unless you're my children, and then you should do it on a regular basis. But
that's correct.
Interesting. Cool. That's awesome.
So, without further ado, let's do that now. His name is Scott Garwick, and he is from Rockford, Illinois. Scott, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we appreciate you taking your time. It means the world to us. So, this is a fun hobby for us and the show, and it's kind of grown a lot of legs, and so much so to the fact is, let me give you the introduction that I got to kind of meet you and how I was able to meet you, and then let you kind of do your own self-introduction. But so Franklin is the executive director of Bragg, and turns out that you did his winter ride, and while conversating with him or somehow asking him, maybe him asking you, "Hey, how did you hear about the ride?" You told him that you had heard a couple of funny guys from Road Adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure talk about Bragg, which led you to the website, which led you to find another ride, and to bring it full circle. You actually joined that ride because of listening to us. And of course, Franklin's helped us. And so he thought, hey, Scott would be a good guest. So Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into cycling, and why it is you do this crazy stuff that we all like to do. On behalf of Adam
and Michael,
we both want to say thank you
for your support.
Well, you hit the nail on the head as far as Franklin is concerned. I've been following, been listening to you guys. I've kind of listened to your RAGBRAI show and all of that. But yeah, I really didn't start cycling seriously until 2005.
Okay.
It was then that I decided I needed to do something. I need to be proactive in my own health.
Okay.
And so I bought a hybrid bike and I started riding, and then I started riding with a group of guys, and it just so happened that the group of guys that I was riding with rode recumbents.
Okay.
So I started riding, I bought a recumbent bike and I started riding recumbents, and I loved it. So I bought a second recumbent bike. I actually sold a fishing boat that I had, and I bought a second recumbent bike. So I had two at the time. And then in 2016, I retired. I was a retired electrician.
Okay.
I retired from the trade, and my son, for my retirement gift, bought me a third recumbent bicycle. And so I still have three, and two of them, 2020 and 2021, I converted two of those to e-assist.
Okay.
So I in 2020, in late 2020, I was having some issues, and I found out my doctor diagnosed me with anxiety disorder.
Okay.
And so I probably suffered from that all my life. And so cycling became an outlet for my anxiety. I didn't realize it at the time,
Nice.
but
That's cool.
there was a series of events that happened in 2020. I mean, it was a horrible year. We all know that.
What happened? What happened in 2020? I'm just kidding. What happened March 13th, 2020? I wonder.
Well, one of the things that happened to me was that after the George Floyd murder, our town was in turmoil. And we started to stage, a large group of us started to stage demonstrations after his murder. And I was at a peaceful demonstration one evening with about 20 other demonstrators, and I was arrested. I spent the night in jail, and I was released, and I had 4 court hearings, and the charges were dismissed. I had 2 felony charges against me. The charges were dismissed, and that's the end of that story. But that is what really brought my anxiety to the forefront.
Okay.
And
I would imagine 2 federal offenses would bring my anxiety to the forefront as well.
Anybody, yeah. But so that's when I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder. But I say all that to say this, that riding a bicycle has literally saved my mental health and my physical health.
Cool.
A year ago, 2 years ago, actually in June, I had a major stroke. And it was to the point where there is about a half-inch spot on the back of my brain that was affected by the stroke. And when I was in the hospital, the doctors were like, "What do you do? What do you do?" And I said, "I'm retired." I said, "I ride my bicycle." They said, "Well, just so you know, the bicycle saved your life."
Wow.
They said, "You had a major stroke. You have no deficits. And because you ride your bicycle, your brain immediately found a path around that damage and healed itself."
That's amazing.
And,
That's incredible.
I'm like, "Oh, really?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they said, "So keep doing what you're doing, because this has saved your life." So again, I go back to the bicycle.
Yeah.
Has not only saved my mental health, and it continues to do that, because anxiety disorder is not something you get over.
Mhm.
But it also saved my physical health. So I owe a lot to the bicycle and bicycle riding.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
I appreciate you sharing. That's very personal, but I appreciate you sharing that.
But Adam,
yeah.
let's not gloss over a couple of points here.
Yes.
First, this guy got rid of his fishing boat when he retired to buy a bicycle. Generally, it's the other way around. It's like, oh, I'm getting rid of everything. I'm getting in the fishing boat, and I'm going to go fishing. Forget all that other stuff. So that right there is kind of cool. Most people do it the other way. But
well, you completely stole my thunder, because I was going to say the moral of the story is sell your fishing boat.
Exactly. Sell the fishing boat, buy a bike.
Yes.
I love my fishing boat. I was in my fishing boat all the time. And the reason why I sold it was because you cannot ride a bicycle and fish, because you have to do one or the other. You just can't do both.
That's true.
Yeah, you can't troll off the back of a bike. That's
your fishing is my golf. I still love to golf, and there are many days when in Michigan, when it's beautiful, where I get torn. I'm like, go for a 50-mile bike ride or go chase the white ball. I'm like, so. The
second point, Adam, before we get too far along, is you did not tell me we were going to have criminal activity going on, which makes for a better story. This is awesome.
No, I was not told that. All Franklin said is this gentleman listened to us, signed up for his ride, and had some great stories. even to the point when I asked Scott his schedule, and he, in a very funny, sarcastic way, said, well, let me see if I can clear my schedule. I'm good except for Thursday. Now, this is important. When I work at the bicycle thrift store, please tell me. I mean,
What is that about?
What is a bicycle thrift store? I have to hear this.
Well, it's a thrift store. It's basically, it's a thrift store is what it is. It's a Carpenter's Corner thrift store. It's part of a not-for-profit organization in town here called Carpenter's Place. And what Carpenter's Place does is it's really cool because they provide resources. And when I say resources, I mean they provide housing when it's needed. They provide a couple meals every day. They help people find jobs. They have a veterans house where they find homeless veterans and they put them in the house. So they do all that. And this they started this store to help pay for all the things that they provide for the homeless. So it's so the resale store, the thrift store. My wife and I were doing some volunteering at Carpenter's Place. We volunteer in the arts and crafts room once a week, and somebody said, "Hey, we're gonna open a thrift store. You should probably apply." They knew I bicycle,
right?
You should apply for a job there. And I'm like, okay. And so I had been working one day a week anyway. I was delivering flowers, and then the company closed. They went out of business, and I applied for the job, and I interviewed, and they hired me. So the thrift store, what we do, and there are probably at least a half a dozen thrift stores in Rockford. It's a big thrift store community. So we're the only thrift store of the thrift stores in town that have a functioning bike shop. So we take donated bikes and we fix them up, we repair, we go through them, we make sure. We say that you can buy a bike from our thrift store and take it outside and you can ride it home. That's awesome. That's what I do. And I have a couple volunteers that work with me. But it's a great job. It's a great place to work. And again, the bicycles that we have and that we sell are primo bikes. I mean, we get some old school Schwinn's, and we fix them up, and we make sure that they're functioning and working and all of that. And people come in, they just love them. They'll buy them, and we go through. In the year's time that we had the store, it's only been around. We just had our 1 year anniversary. We have sold over $10,000 worth of bicycles.
Wow!
Which amounts to about just under 400 bicycles. That's what we've done in a year's time. And again, we're the only thrift store in town that has a functioning bike shop, and it's a great job. I love it.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah. So
since this show is not only a podcast, but it's also on YouTube, can we give the thrift store a plug? Can we mention the name of the thrift store?
Sure. It's Carpenter's Corner.
Carpenter's Corner is the name.
Illinois. Yes.
Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford, Illinois. Yep.
Okay, great. So if you're looking for a bicycle, and you want one that's been checked out by some wonderful volunteers, Carpenter's Corner, Rockford, Illinois. I'm sure you can search on Google and all the good search engines to be able to find it. So, okay, so
Scott will hook you up down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. And again, the money that we make at the thrift store goes back into Carpenter's Place, and it provides resources for the homeless. So every time somebody buys a bicycle, they are actually helping the homeless not be homeless.
That's amazing. So, I love that. I mean, so no, Michael, I didn't know we were going to have criminal activity, but I think what he just said, he kind of saved himself from his criminal activity.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me just say that Franklin knows my criminal history.
Uh-oh. And he
So-
still let you ride, so that's okay.
So that's
We
yeah.
still have some questions for Franklin too, but no, I'm joking.
Yeah.
He's from Rockford, Illinois.
Yes.
Adam, you know what else is in Rockford, Illinois?
Oh boy. There's a theme park there.
Is there?
Some sort of theme park.
Magic water.
Yeah, magic.
No, that's not what I'm thinking, dude. There is a place called Barnstormer's Distillery
Oh,
in Rockford, Illinois. I was
listening.
Yeah, I knew you would be. I was actually in Rockford about 3 weeks ago. And of course, when I travel through places, I like to check out the local distilling community, and checked out Barnstormers. It was pretty good.
I've never.
I got a bottle. I'll share it with you.
I've never checked out.
Never at all. But anyway, yeah. So we'll try that out the next time we're together.
So I would like to go back a little bit. I am so thankful of your time. I'm already enjoying this interview. Your son seems very special to buy you a wonderful retirement gift. When you were cycling, you first said you started with the hybrid bike, and then you decided to go with the recumbent. Was the recumbent a choice for comfort, or was it because your friends were all doing the recumbent? Is it more comfortable?
It was peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Gotcha.
Yeah. No. Actually, it was a combination of a couple different things. Yes, I was riding with some folks that were riding recumbent, and I thought, I was kind of intrigued by it because they are kind of odd looking. They're not,
right.
And I wasn't aware of recumbent bikes until I started riding with this group of guys and ladies. There were ladies riding recumbents, but I was kind of intrigued by it, by the bike, and so I thought, and I'm 6'4", so I can't just get on any bike and ride. So I went over to the guy's shop because I went to his bike shop and I tried a bicycle. I tried a recumbent, and it was like, oh man, this is the way to ride.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's got a lawn chair seat. Your feet are out in front of you, and it's so comfortable. So yeah, I mean, I had a hybrid bike that fit me. It fit me well, but it was always kind of like the shoulders, the neck, my butt. So and I still rode the hybrid after I bought my first recumbent. Then it's like, oh, why? So then so it was a combination of mostly for comfort, and really now that's why I ride, because it's more comfortable.
Yeah. So. And I've been passed many a times by many men and many women in recumbent bikes just going right by me. So
downhill,
no, uphill. I hate to admit that, but uphill. So downhill, I usually can take the gold medal in the downhill slalom, but uphill, I'm like, okay, I'll see you at the top. So I always find it intriguing when we pull in, like when we did RAGBRAI, when we pull in the towns, and some of those recumbents are just and you sent me a picture of one of yours. It's just like a tube. It's just like a tube with gears on one end and a seat on the other and two tires. And I mean, I'm always like, how does that work? So I'm always intrigued. So
there are some fast recumbent bikes. I mean, they make some really fast. The two that I have that I made into e-bikes, of course, they're heavy. They have the motor, the battery, all of that. The other bike that is a pedal bike, which is the bike that I rode on the brag ride, is a light bike. I mean, for a recumbent, it's 20 pounds, and that's light for a recumbent. And that's a fun bike to ride. So, but there are some really fast recumbents, and there's some fast people on recumbents, and there's some fast ladies on recumbents.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
I think a company that we saw in Georgia before was Cruise Bike. Those were recumbents where all the gears are in front, and so. When you did the winter brag ride, would you mind? We've never done that.
Nope.
Was that you ride so many miles a day and then camp or?
Hey, Adam, I need a Coke.
Sounds good. We'll be back after a quick break.
No, it was better.
Okay.
It was great. I didn't know what to expect. But what we did is we moteled it in one spot. I think it was in St. Mary's, I believe.
Okay.
And then from there, we kind of went out. So our rides kind of were out and back rides.
Okay.
We did. And then one day we went to Cumberland Island, which that was a walking tour. We hiked about 6 miles that day. But
Nice.
for the most part, the first, I think the first 3 or 4 days, and then we went to Jekyll Island, and we stayed in a really nice hotel in Jekyll, and we rode that day as well. But it wasn't. I mean, it was a hotel. They were great hotels, and
Nice.
We just kind of did these group rides from the hotel, and we would stop for lunch, and we would stop to sightsee. And I mean, Franklin does a great job of, and I'm looking forward to doing Big Brag. I have too much going on this year to do it, but I really want to do Big Brag. That's my goal. So I'm hoping that next year I'll see what the route is, and maybe I can do it next year. But he does a great job with the winter ride, and then I think he has 2 winter rides, and then he has the spring tune-up.
Yeah,
and, we've done that one.
Okay,
yeah, we've done spring tune-up. The only problem is for both of us. I think I'm coming back from a conference, but for me that's like a 12-hour drive to get there, and then 12 hours back, and so it's like
Makes for a long 3-day weekend type thing. So
yeah, so
sure.
But it's an amazing time. I mean, we had a great time, and it's his background is music festivals, and so he puts on a wonderful music part of the weekend. Not only the bicycle riding, but brings
lots
in the
of good
food
entertainment.
for sure. So, okay, so you recumbent, you get arrested, you get a stroke. I'm just kidding. I love it.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Are you kidding? Well, first of all, I mean, on a serious note, and usually I try to be funny on the show, but it was a very hard time for this country with the George Floyd thing. I mean, I don't want to gloss over that. I'm not trying to blow it off. It was definitely a frustrating thing to watch. And then, of course, the court case, and then the other officers that were there and who didn't do anything. I have a feeling I would stand right next to you during that peaceful protest. So, just amazing that ever even happened. So, but the cycling that saved your life, I will tell you this, kind of sort of the same for me. Not nowhere near as a stroke or nowhere near, but I was extremely overweight. I'm still overweight, still working on it, but it's a constant battle. But used to be a lot bigger, and then started losing some weight. And my neighbor said, "Why don't you get a bicycle?" I'm like, "Bicycle? I've ridden a bicycle since I was in high school." And he's like, "No, you should really get a bicycle." And it's like same thing for me. I bought a hybrid bike, and then I got bit by the bug of immediately buying a road bike. And then someone asked me in an email to explain the story again, but Michael and I met in 2016 when we did RAGBRAI. I was doing my very first century ever in 2016, and he kind of looked over at me, and I was a little red and looked a little weak, and he said, "Hey," he said, "You doing okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I just, whew. And it was at this country club. We just had to pedal so far to get back to this country club. And I'm like, I have to go back there. Even to get out to the road, I was just thinking about that. And he said, "Hey, why don't you ride with me?" He said, "I don't ride fast. I don't ride slow, but hey, we'll just finish it together." And that's where the friendship bonded. So, and then now we crazy nut jobs, and we go all over the place and do all kinds of rides. So,
it's a little out of hand now, but
yeah,
we'll get therapy maybe.
Yeah, maybe that would be good.
Or not.
Well,
But
that's a good story too.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, during that I'm glossing over it, but he and I, we started talking about investing, and we both like to talk about that, and just different hobbies. And then one day we were hanging out. I said, why do you always go to these wine places? And he said, no, we like wine. And I said, what about whiskey? And so I was able to introduce him into that, and a lot of history he's introduced me to, because I'm more of the guy, like, get me in a plane, get me there in 2 hours. He's like, no, we're taking the family on the open road for a 14-hour ride where we're going to look at the world's largest cast iron pan. And I'm like, tell me how it is. When I get there, I'll hear about it later. So
hey, it's pretty incredible. Let me just tell you, pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, hopefully you can make a nice pot of chili or something. But so no, I mean, it's amazing how cycling brings different people together. And traditionally, the cycling community, to me, is just a strong bond, and the people we've met all over the place. And we've seen people that we've met in Georgia and multiple states. And so Bragg's got a pretty good outreach. And now he's doing overseas. Being Franklin, is doing overseas rides. And so we're kind of looking into that and seeing what we might be able to do, something a little bit different. But
that'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be.
He does a really good job. I'm sure his overseas rides, his tours are just as good as, these here. So.
Yeah. So what's you got a lot cycling on the schedule for the summer, or something more personal we won't talk about on the show? So
is that something you heard from Franklin?
No. I'm asking you because
just asking.
No, because you said I would like to do Big Brag one year, but not this year. There's too much on the schedule. So I was like, does he mean he plans on protesting more? No, just kidding. But
and the thing about the protesting story too, the demonstrations, I rode my bike to nearly every single one of them. So,
gotcha.
But anyway, I have a few that I'm going to do this year.
Cool.
I'd like to do. Whether or not I do them is another thing. But I checked one off, and that was the winter ride, the Bragg winter ride. So I'm signed up, and I've already met my goal for the Scenic Shore. I don't know if you're familiar with the Scenic Shore ride. It's a fundraiser for the Lymphoma Leukemia Society. It's a 2-day ride, 150 miles. I'm planning on doing that in July. And then in August, I've got it written down here at my desk. In August, I'm doing the second half of RAW. I did the first half last year. RAW is right across Wisconsin.
Okay.
This year it'll be about 126 miles from the Dells to Milwaukee. And then I'd like to do the Mickelson Tour with Crossroad Bike Tours.
Okay.
That's like a 100-mile ride out in South Dakota.
Yep.
At some point, I'd like to do, probably not this year, but I'd like to do the Hotter Than Hell 100.
That's on my.
I keep telling Adam about that ride. It's like, we've got to do that one down in Texas.
Yeah. And then, of course, Big Brag. I've done RAGBRAI 7 times. I've done 3 full weeks, and then I did 3 partial weeks, like, halfway, half of a week 3 times. And then last year, my wife and I did the very last day. So I'm done. I mean, RAGBRAI is great. It's fun. It's so much fun. I'm glad that I did it, but I'm kind of done for a while.
Yeah. That's exactly the way we are. You said you were riding part of RAW. I actually back in the day rode RAGBRAI, which was down through Wisconsin, and we actually went. The last section was the Dells down to Milwaukee, and it's just beautiful along there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
and we kind of feel the same way. Michael's done RAGBRAI 6 times, 6 full weeks, and I've done it 5 full weeks. And we were there last year for the 50th, and I mean it was I don't know, I guess that would be Hotter Than Hell times 7. So for me, because it was it was definitely, and they can't control the temperature. I don't expect that, but I mean it was long days in the saddle. And then, for us, it's Michael and he's got a family in Kansas, and I have a family, well, just married here, but my wife and I are here. And so when we hang out, we enjoy to spend time with each other, and, hey, how you been? How's this? And yeah, we were on the bikes, but then if you weren't riding right next to each other, and you've been to RAGBRAI, sometimes that's not even feasible. Then by the time we got back to camp, we'd be like, okay, we got to hurry up and take a shower. And then you're dying to get something to eat. And then, okay, by that time they were, such long days that, and then this year they say is going to be the hilliest ever. So I thought, well, enjoy. So, no,
Yeah.
RAGBRAI, many, 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 many memories and, great times. And, but we decided for us it was time for a break and to see another part of the country. So
Yeah, there are
Absolutely.
other great rides out there that that you could do. But if you've done RAGBRAI, yeah, that's great. But there's other rides besides RAGBRAI.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this year, yeah, we're doing one called Shoreline, which is in the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, the top of the Lower Peninsula. It's a ride we've looked at it a couple times, and then just decided this year was the year. And we'd skip RAGBRAI, and kind of convenient for me,
Mhm.
but on a serious note, not being selfish, when my friend flies in, a lot of the equipment I can, he won't have to bring as much equipment, and so we'll throw the bike together in the garage and hope we don't have any extra parts, and we'll head up north, as we say.
As
So
long as we don't have more than 3 extra bolts or screws or nuts, we are okay. So it'll be fine.
I'm good enough. So we'll leave the seat in the garage. And we'll
You don't need that.
leave the 2 pedals.
Yeah, I have left my cycling shoes at home before, so I mean, we'll work
God,
around whatever.
God, that is a very, very, very true story. We were doing a ride called Odram, one day ride across Michigan, and our good buddy Joe lives in the same town as I do, and I, I'm just a little bit north of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and so um, we get to our cabin. Everyone is like, you had thought it was like World War II. We were all staging our bikes and getting everything ready because it was about 155 mile at that year was 155 miles. We did it 2 years later where we actually went from Lake Michigan all the way across, which is 165 miles in one day. But going back to the original story, it was 155 miles. We're all staging. Everyone's getting all their stuff together. And one of our friends named Jacob said, I think I'm going to put my shoes right here. So I'm ready to go. And all of a sudden, all we heard was, oh no. And we
I
kind of looked
knew.
up.
I knew.
He knew it right then and there that he had left. He brought them from home to Michigan. But when we all changed into my minivan, uh, all the gear got put in the back. He accidentally left the cycling shoes in his car, which was down south Brighton is what the city I live in. And we called, I don't know how many bike shops. We went back.
Everybody literally was on the phone going, well, I know a guy, and let's
Yeah.
call this to see if there's a bike shop, and couldn't find a pair of shoes any size yeah.
So finally there was a on-site mechanic, probably I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's probably somebody who was sponsored that day to be there to just do like, quick lube or tire change. Sometimes they get the bike shops to come on board. And he had a pair of pedals for like $10. And they were just regular pedals that you would probably sell at your thrift store with the bikes. No, no clipless, no nothing.
No cages, no nothing.
And my good friend strapped on a pair of New Balance and
Nope, they were Fila's.
Fila's, I'm sorry.
Fila's, yeah, absolutely.
And he rode 155 miles with tennis shoes. And so, but you know what? That makes for a good story today. So.
But the problem with that is when I got done with the ride, I really realized I didn't have that much trouble riding with it. So then I had to ask myself, am I really using my pedals the correct way? So I had to kind of reevaluate a couple of things, but it was all good. We had a good time and I survived. So.
And now, Scott, I will not lie to you. We are relentless in the text messaging. Don't forget your shoes. Don't forget your shoes. Don't forget.
It's been years, and that'll be the first. Michael, don't forget your shoes.
And we for a while we use iPhones, and so for a while the only thing that when you type shoe is a big red heel, and so we would text him and we would say, "Don't forget your shoe," and it would turn it into a red heel. And he's like, "Now I'm wearing heels, guys." So the emojis have expanded where now we could use other shoes, so that's good. But yeah,
Well, I used to, I clipped in, on recumbent, it's you kind of have to clip in because your feet are out in front of you and they're just kind of like, otherwise they're hanging on the pedals. So I was clipped in for years when I first started riding. In 2016, the bike that it was a few months after I retired, it was in August of 2016. The bike that my son bought me for my retirement gift, I crashed. And when I crashed, I was clipped in, and my right foot, when I crashed, it threw me off the bike, and my right foot did not unclip. So I had 3 breaks. I broke my leg in 3 places, my right leg, because I was clipped in. And so after that, I ride all 3 of my bikes. I have mountain bike pedals with a platform with the pegs, and that's the way I ride. So I don't pull where, before I could pull, and
right.
And really, as far as that goes, that's usually if you're riding fast, you want to pull, you want to pedal in circles, or if you're climbing a hill.
Yeah.
And I just don't, and especially even now with e-bike, I don't have to be clipped in, but
yeah,
if I was on an upright road bike and I was doing a long ride, I would want to be clipped in. But not having your shoes is a big deal. You can do without a lot of things when you're cycling, but it's hard to do.
Yeah, you don't need shoes. Yeah, no big deal.
Next time
I'll just do it in jeans, and
you've proven that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't think it'll ever die in the story. So, but now I look over in his pack and he's got like 4 sets of shoes. I'm like, I'm never doing that again. But I'm just kidding. But
no, well, though typically now I do carry 2 pairs of shoes and I put them in separate parts of my bag or separate bags. So I'm not without a pair of shoes now.
Hey, Michael, I need a coffee.
Okay, we'll be back right after this message.
So we learned a lot and got our education. I actually made a mistake on the show. I'm not sure how long you've been listening, but after last year's RAGBRAI, we met the official mayor of RAGBRAI, and she gave us the class 1, 2, and 3 of e-bike. And I made a misfortune and said something incorrectly, which led me to the Bosch website, which led me to get re-educated. And then, of course, I had to apologize to everybody, but I'm human. I make a mistake. But that you converted yours, where my curiosity is now that the state parks I saw here in Michigan, they're opening up licenses where you can register the e-bike and you can do things. My curiosity is when you convert your own, how do you prove, or how do you, if you're just on the trail, no one's going to bother you, but how would you be able to prove what class that is per se?
I think it would just be the honor system.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, my bike, my 2 bikes, I bought the components from a company in Canada, and they have really good tech support and all of that. But yeah, I can set. I can set all the parameters. I can set all the parameters on my bike, so I can go as fast as my motor will take me. However, I do have it set so that it is legal.
Assisting, right, assist or whatever.
The assist level is so I have it set so it's legal, but I do have a throttle. I think really I don't know. Yeah, because it's because I built it myself.
Yeah,
there's really no way of somebody just have to take my word for it.
And you seem like I just met you, but you seem like if like a DNR officer pulled you over or wanted to talk to you, you'd just be able to tell them and explain it. I think they're more concerned about people being on like mountain bike trails with I guess
bikes with the motors,
motors and everything else. And even if you're on a regular trail, I think they're like when I say regular trail, like a rails to trails. I think they're worried about like the family being out on a Sunday and having the young man or young women on a learning bike with can't think of it right now, training wheels, and then you're zipping around at 30, 40 miles an hour. I think that's what they're really concerned about. And so for a while they were gonna like make you apply for a license here and everything, but I think they've kind of gotten away from that. They're just using more of the honor system, and they're gonna mark the trails and go that route. So I'm sure
I think there's 2 states that require you to have a license, if I remember correctly.
We have a great bike path system here in Rockford. But and like every other city, e-bikes are popular.
Yeah.
But we also see a lot of gas bikes, and they're not legal on our bike paths, and for that very reason, because they can go 35 miles an hour, and but they're usually they're not cyclists, put it that way.
Yeah.
But we have the same thing, and they're idiots, if I can say that. I mean, they're total idiots. They're jackasses. That's what they are. And
we and like by me, we have a beautiful trail system, and so we have a park called Kensington Metro Park. So the Metro Parks usually all have some sort of cycling, and then we have we're lucky enough to have another park called Island Lake Recreational Area, and it actually goes under the freeway where the trail you can actually ride like 75 miles with the trail systems without ever touching an open road. And so we're very lucky to have that. But every now and then you do get someone out there, just like I said, you got the family, and the young 3-4-year-old is just learning how to ride, and and then these guys are zipping in and out. And so a lot of times what happens is if I'm training for something like Bragg or RAGBRAI or something like that, we were actually right on the road for a little bit. The road is an official park road, so they're supposed to be 25 miles an hour. But if the first beautiful day in Michigan, I'm sure the same by you, everyone like, we got to go outside, and everybody, gets out of their house. And then, so we find that riding in the emergency lane there is much better. And so, but yeah, we're very lucky here. A lot of the trains, they pull all the tracks out, and they turn them all rails to trails. And so that's unfortunate. Michael actually doesn't have a lot of, I always tease, but you don't have a lot of cycling unless you like put the bike in the car and drive a decent way. You don't have a lot of trail systems by you.
Yeah, I'd have to drive like 20 miles to get to a trail system. What's that?
And where's it that you live?
I live in a small town just south of Kansas City on the Kansas side. But population's like 5,000 people, so needless to say, we don't have a lot of trails. There's not a lot of roads that go in and out of my town. I mean, we've got a highway that goes one way and a highway that goes the other way, and then there's not a lot of other options. So it's you have to kind of pick and choose when you're riding around here.
How about the Katy Trail? Is that too far from you?
Yeah, that's over in the Missouri side, and that would be too far. Yeah.
Okay. That's a nice rail trail.
Absolutely.
We did that last year. We did it last fall. We did the whole thing. That's an excellent ride.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I am glad that Franklin put us in touch with you, and that you were very receptive to come on. I've highly enjoyed talking to you today, and I hope that one day our paths cross in physical form and not just in digital form. So,
yeah, absolutely. This has been a great interview. You've had some fantastic stories. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, and I totally agree. Hopefully, one of these days we'll be on the road together there.
Well, I'll be listening to your podcast to see. I'll listen anyway, but I'll keep my ear open for the Hotter Than Hell 100.
Yeah.
I have been preaching to Adam for a couple of years that we need to go down to this ride.
It's an epic ride. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm game. I mean, I think we looked it up one time. It's
It's in Central Time Zone.
I'm willing to make an exception. I don't know, Scott, if you ever heard me tell this story, but I went to Kansas to do a century ride and visit my friend and his family, and it was called the Gorilla Century. And I hadn't trained a lot, to be honest, but when we got out there, we were like 60 miles in on the century, and like 40 miles left, and rain was coming. And he said, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah, just not feeling it today." And he's like, "What do you think it is?" I'm like, "I think it's a Central Time." And so since then,
Like it's a disease.
it's been a long running joke. That's why in the text messaging, getting prepared for today and doing show prep, I had said to Scott, I said, "Well, he's probably sleeping. It's still Central Time." He said, "Hey, don't knock on Central Time." I'm like, "Oh man, I made a mistake."
Well, the problem with Central Time is that they change it. If they would just leave it alone, it wouldn't be so bad. But it changes twice a year.
And what's funny is one of my vendors for where I work is in Arizona, and I'm like, okay, they don't change. So
they
now
don't change at all.
So now I'm like, okay, well, they're not open yet. So I'm like, well, they were open. Now they're not, just whatever. But I wish they would just pick one. I mean, I would personally, being a guy who loves to be active outside, I would choose the option where it's lighter outside longer. And I know that may not be the most popular answer, but
I agree.
But and then just leave it alone. Stop. I don't know why the people have all said that for years, and then nobody in power ever makes that change. So oh well. But
anyway,
well, I was going to say we're not going to change it here either.
Nope, not going to happen.
Well, Scott, I do have one question for you, because we love to help people who listen to us out. Have you registered yet for that ride in July where you're collecting funds? Because if you do, I can put the link in not only the show, but on YouTube. And if you haven't registered yet, can I at least open the door for you that when you do register, I'll drop the link in our show?
I have registered, but it would be great if there's folks that would like to donate to that cause.
Perfect.
That money goes to LLS. They get donations for every. I pay for my own hotel.
Gotcha.
Everything I pay for all of everything for me, and they have donations for their rest stops and all that. So all the money that's raised for that ride goes to the Lymphoma Leukemia Society.
Awesome.
So yeah, that would be great.
Perfect. Why don't you, when we're done here, if you don't mind, if you have a hyperlink that you can text me or email me, whatever you prefer, we'll definitely drop it into the YouTube and we'll drop it into the show notes on the podcast. We definitely love to support good causes and help out those in the vulnerable population. What I do for a living is deal with that on a day in, day out. As an avid listener to the show, you probably heard Michael tease me or joke with me about working for the government, but I actually help with transportation and help individuals with little help in life who need a little help. We all need help in one direction or another, but it definitely is a feel good place that I work for. So anytime that we can spread the love of helping those in need, we love to support that and put that on there. So definitely please send me that.
Okay. Thank you.
Scott Garwick, Rockford, Illinois, you have been a great guest, and I thank you so much for giving us some of your time this evening.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you, Scott.
Yes, I love you guys, and I'll continue to listen to your show.
We appreciate that.
I was going to say that means more than you know. So
okay, well, good.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Scott, and I'll look forward to the email, and I promise you I'll put it on there.
You got it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
I'll tell you what, Scott was a great interview. I highly enjoyed it.
Man, he was, and he's had great stories. Awesome. Great. He fits right in as a cycling man of leisure.
Oh, I mean, card carrying. I think he's ready. There's no membership fee, but if there was, we'd give him a discount.
We'd waive his membership fee.
That was great. from his criminal career that he was able to bike away with no charges,
Mhm.
to his, I mean, having a stroke and the doctor saying cycling saved your life. I mean,
That's incredible.
that is
It
inspiring.
really
That's
is.
He was a wonderful interview. Scott, as a loyal listener, I'm sure you'll listen as I would listen if I was on a podcast. And so thank you, Scott. Thank you for your time,
Yes.
and a little kudos to Franklin. You were absolutely right. You hit the ball out of the park. He was a great interview. So thank you, Franklin, as well.
Yes.
Um, okay. So that being said, we'll move along. I'm curious, you got any I know that we do big rides together, but you got any local rides by you that you're looking into?
I really don't because my summer is kind of stacking up a little weird.
Gotcha.
Uh, got some stuff going on that I'm unsure about. Don't know how it's all going to lay out, and I've got a couple of family vacations and trips planned as well.
Gotcha.
So haven't really signed up for anything locally. There's a couple I'd like to do, but right now, the way things are going, I have to keep things a little bit open. So we'll see.
And it's funny, like if you would have went like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have just been like, boom, sign up, boom, sign up. And now I'm the same way. I'm like, okay, now if I do that, am I gonna be here? Do I have anything? I mean, it's like you kind of have to look a little harder. Um, so I'm the same way. But I did pull the trigger on 2 rides that
Oh,
are local.
really?
Yeah. Last year, you and I did a little piece of part of a show about the Dawn Farm.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yep.
a recovery center, and so if nobody heard that, we'll drop a link for that show, and if you want to hear that part. But Dawn Farm is a farm, an actual farm, and if you find yourself in AA or needing a little structure, that there's like the idea is you're taking care of the animals and you're occupying yourself by not going out and having destructive behavior. And so they call it Dawn Farm Ride for Recovery. And so I that's a ride I like to do on April 28th. So if anyone is interested, I'll put a link in the show. It doesn't go to me, it goes right to them, and they have different lengths. The longest length is 58 miles, and then I think it's like 25, 40, and 58 or something like that. But it's really cool. I mean, part of the registration is you get a T-shirt and there's breakfast and lunch, and you actually drive to the farm, and a lot of the people staying at the farm are the ones that help you, and it's really cool. It's just an inspirational day, and love helping out there, and traditionally it's very windy. So usually coming back, you ride out and the wind's at your back, and when you're riding back to the car, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of wind. So I'm sure that'll happen again. So usually
Absolutely.
every year. So but and then the other one I did is when you and I are not doing RAGBRAI, there's a ride called One Hell of a Ride, and it goes through Hell, Michigan.
Oh, yes. You've told me about this one.
Yeah, and so um and usually when we go to RAGBRAI, it's the weekend before we go, and I don't want to do that century before then go into RAGBRAI, depending on what's going on. Um, and this time I'm wide open since we're not doing RAGBRAI this year, and I decided I'm doing it. So July, I believe it's 13th, signed up for the century, and so we will go out there. So if anyone in the Michigan area wants to join me, I'll welcome that. That's through I'll find the link for that, AATS, I think .org. So I will I'll make sure that Ann Arbor Touring Society. Yeah, I think that I'll find it out. But yeah, so
Now,
those are 2
are you still
rides.
going to wear your Cycling Men of Leisure jersey?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Uh, I did not. I no Normally when I go to these places, they have jerseys. I'm like, yep, I'll get that. So I'll have the jersey for next time or whatever. Not this year. This year I'm gonna promote the road adventures of Cycling Men of Leisure.
Love it.
Um, but I will have my debrim. Uh, very
I,
proud.
I would expect no less from you. Yeah.
Gentleman on Monday passed me when we were kind of taking a little break. He said, "Nice costume." And I thought to myself, don't hit a stone there, buddy. So, but all good. But yes, I will. I will definitely be promoting the good cause of road adventures of cycling men of leisure. So,
Awesome.
besides that, not much. Continuing the training. I did have a little announcement. I put out the call for the Strava Club, and I think we got like 20 new people in our Strava Club. So I was like,
Really awesome.
heck yeah! So that's kind of cool. So, um, our friend Bill is still packing on the miles, usually at number 1 or 2. So, Bill, you're my inspiration. So, I will hope that the weather will change in Michigan, and we'll be out there more. So,
It'll be
uh,
good.
but that's about it for this show. I mean, I think Scott was definitely the highlight of the show. Don't want to steal his thunder. I loved his story. So the only thing I have to ask you before we depart here is: are you prepared for another listener spotlight?
Oh, the question is, are you prepared for another listener spotlight?
I don't get them right anyway. So I mean, but I'll give it my best shot.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
ready.
I've got one tuned up here. All
Okay,
right.
St. Louis. No, just
Listener
kidding.
spotlight. Here are the
Oh,
hints
here
for
I'll do my best I can.
the
It's
next one.
now time for listener spotlight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This town was founded as a military fort by the Spanish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's gonna kind of limit some areas. Uh, it is a giant in the temporary tattoo industry.
Wow. Temporary. Okay.
Tattoos.
Now, is that like the giant? Like you mean like they make it to giant? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, jeez. Notorious gangster was captured in this town.
Oh, wow.
It is well known in the U.S. cycling world.
Hmm.
And I
Now,
got one
see,
more.
I feel
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
yeah. Well, on that one, I feel like because I don't watch Tour de France and all that stuff, I may not have a good answer. But go ahead.
Well, there are a lot of teams that do not participate in the Tour de France. So just so you know.
Ooh. Okay.
Uh, and here's a good one. Ansel Adams, you know who he is, being a former photographer.
Photographer. Yeah.
Yeah. Black and white landscapes, beautiful stuff. He played a significant role in what has now become its vibrant art community or scene, whatever you want to call it. So there you go. What's your guess?
My first guess is this is another spotlight of something out of the country.
Okay.
I immediately went to Puerto Rico when you first said it, but uh then I started second guessing myself. It's not St. Louis.
It's not St. Louis.
Uh yeah, I'm trying to think of like the places I've traveled and like Spanish. Like should my mind be thinking Spanish forts?
Well, it was founded as a military fort by the Spanish. Now, you got to understand, if it's in the United States, you have to understand what territories were controlled at one time by Spain. Clearly, you have Florida, Texas. You've got all the ones that were in the Gadsden Purchase, like Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California.
Right.
And that's just in the U.S. I mean, Spanish were also in the New Orleans, Louisiana area, but then you do have all the islands, the Caribbean that were under Spanish control, and
That's
a
kind of like
few South American countries.
and that's kind of why I was asking you like should I be thinking of like a Spanish fort because I'm thinking I have been a gentleman who loves to lollygag around the Caribbean, and I've been to a lot of ports. I mean, so that's why I'm kind of
Well,
thinking.
you keep thinking, and you'll find out in our next episode what our community is for our listener spotlight.
Well, that's fair. I just wanted to see if I could actually have somewhat of a better shot this time because I obviously blew it last time. I said St. Louis, and you're like, Dublin. I'm like, how far away could you be? I mean, I blew that. So
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, you did blow it. So anyway, we'll
hey,
find out.
I've got a little teaser for our next episode.
Okay. What is it?
We are going to start a new segment for next episode.
Okay.
And then,
that sounds fun.
And the teaser is, this idea is not original to you or I or our show, but I think it's valuable, and I think it pertains to having a show like we have.
Okay.
And we are going to call it "Let's Open the Mailbag." So,
that sounds good, because now we are actually starting to get quote unquote mail.
And I don't want to lie to you. We already have some mail, but I'm saving it. I want to get a couple things so we can have some context, and we'll leave it at that. And so the next time you and I get together, we're gonna open the mailbag. So,
that sounds like fun.
So, on that note, sir, on Monday for me, it was a great day for a bike ride, and hopefully, sir, that now that your cold is going down the river, and it can go as far away from you as it needs to go, because you don't need that anymore.
Nope. It's
by you.
Great day for a bike ride.
Perfect, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming along with Adam and Michael on Road Adventures with Cycling Men of Leisure. If you have enjoyed this, please subscribe to the show on the podcast app of your choice.
Hey, we just wanted to remind you that we've got some really cool products at our jersey and our swag store.
That's right. You can visit cyclingmenofleisure.com. At the top of the page, you'll find our stores page. Click there. There's 2 QR codes. The one on the left has a J on it. That's the store for the jerseys. The one on the right is just a swag store. Has all kinds of different items. Kind of customizable. You can kind of make the swag the way you want it. If the QR codes are giving you an issue, don't worry. Underneath, there's 2 buttons that you can click on. Thank you, and have a great day.